that border. As far as Obama, I launched an investigation March 1. I went public on that. Naturally, the major media will not cover the story, but we're investigating his birth certificate and his selected service card. We're convinced that they're phonies, but nobody will talk about it. But I'm going to keep on the investigation and see where it goes.
Sheriff Arpaio, this is Ken Clark, and we're going to go to a break real fast. When we come back, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question, specifically what your investigators did find in that investigation into the passport and the birth certificate. We'll be right back.
Randy Corcoran here for Jason Worley, Ken Clark's in studio. Where in the world did that music come from? That's what happens when you have a...
Well, it is kind of fitting, Randy. It's called Mexican radio, so why not? With grassroots radio, whatever.
We got a packed house. Trevor Loudon is in studio. We'll be talking shortly again about his book. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is on the line with us. Before we get back to President Obama, Mr. Loudon, you had a comment about the immigration situation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have to realize that this has nothing to do... The left is pushing this agenda, because nothing to do with family reunification or compassion. Eliseo Medina, who is a deputy head of ECIU, the biggest union in the country, is also a leader of Democratic Socialists of America, a Marxist group. At a progressive conference in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, I've got him on film, he openly stated the reason they want to push illegal immigration is because they want to give amnesty to an estimated 12 million illegal immigrants, and they figure that will give them 8 million more Democratic votes. And they've actually worked out the sums and the figures on that, and he openly stated that that would create a permanent majority for the Democratic Party for the foreseeable future. So that's what it's all about. They just want to flood the country with more Democratic voters to marginalise Republicans and change the face of politics in this nation.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Maricopa County, that means you got to keep doing your job down there, sir.
Well, that's why I took an oath of office, being the elected sheriff, so we'll keep doing it as long as the laws are on the books. We're going to enforce those laws.
Well, Sheriff, just so you know, I'm getting a lot of feedback from our listeners via text messages and instant messages, and they all want me to thank you for the work that you're doing down there and for the investigation you did into the Obama secret or service records and the birth certificate and there are a lot of people that I'm getting feedback from that actually watched your press conference online. Why don't you tell us what you guys found and what happened with it?
I'm not going to get into all the technical situations. I have a chief investigator. By the way, to lay any heat from the media and public that I'm spending taxpayers' money. After the Tea Party came to me, 250 asked me to look into it, and I'm the last resort. I gave it to my cold case posse. I have 3,000 volunteer posse, so they're ex-cops, and they did a great job, and they're doing a great job. But summarizing it, we're convinced it's an electronic document as far as the birth certificate. The selected service card registration form has really not been out there, but we came up with information that we're convinced that it's a phony. And I'm not going to get all of the technical parts when you look at the form. So it's really interesting. Those are the two issues we're looking at, possible forgery and fraud. We're not accusing the president, but I want to know about these two forms. But who do I go to? I mean, I got a big problem here. I got a couple ideas, but who's going to help me investigate this from the federal government? I'm sure Hawaii is not, the White House will not. So I got a problem where to get this thing further. But in the meantime, we have a lot of information, not just those two documents, and we're still working this whole situation. We have standing here in Maricopa County and Arizona because they went public with that birth certificate that was all over the world. So I'm sure everybody in this country knows about it and has a concern about whether the president is here, legally and could be on the ballot here in Arizona and other places. So I do have standing, even though I'm a local sheriff here, to look into the matter. No law enforcement agency has done so. We have tons of information. You know, you've seen it all over the world, information coming in, but they're not law enforcement. That takes it to another level when you're talking about law enforcement. We even went to the National Archives and to check the flight information into Hawaii from a 10-year span and narrowed it down to the week the president was born. By the way, that 1 week is missing. Is that a coincidence that that 1 week out of all those reports are missing? So, you know, a lot of things going on here.
Sheriff Joe, I'm a trial attorney, and I have no doubt, I've studied this PDF version of the birth certificate that was released. I have no doubt that I could prove in a civil court beyond a preponderance of the evidence that this is a concocted document.
Yeah, we did it. We tried to show it.
And it's undisputed, even on the left, that dozens upon dozens of Barack Obama records are suppressed. We can't see the long form, the original birth certificate. We can't see his college records. We can't see his high school records. We can't see what he has written when he was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. There are questions about his Social Security number. Why did he get his Social Security number from Connecticut? The evidence just mounts and mounts and mounts, and it's not rebutted. It's just ignored. What do we do? And how can people help you?
Well, that's a good. Well, one thing is that you are doing. I believe that I believe in the power of the people. As this progresses, and the main media now may be talking about it. Hannity's starting to talk about it on Fox, but it's been a blackout for all these years, and maybe with some pressure from the people of our country, that the politicians will do something about it, the Congress, and get this thing over with. When I started this, I wanted to clear the president, and when we went into it, we thought we were going to clear him. But as we went further and further, that's not happening. We're coming up with good evidence and information. So I'll make a decision very soon, probably this week, where to send some of this stuff to get it investigated.
You talked about your cold case posse, basically an army of 3,000 volunteers, and that's terrific that you have that kind of investigative capacity. I've got Ken Clarkitis going on here. But I'm sure that you need resources. Do you have a website? Is there some kind of an organization, a place people can go to check your progress or to help if they're so inclined? What can we do to actually help you?
Well, I think everybody knows how to reach my office, and because I get tons of information. Most of the information has already been out there, but at least the people are interested and want to further that to us. But once again, we're zeroing in on those two documents as a law enforcement agency. I don't want to go too far afield right now, and I want to try to get those two things settled and see what happens, because they're important. The birth certificate is important. When I first started it, I asked one question, and I would then go away. I want the microfilm of the birth certificate in Hawaii. Just show it to us, and then we can prove he was born there. Where is it? How come nobody will show us the microfiche, the microfilm? That would settle this whole thing. It's possibly because it's not there.